Whether or not this stream takes. Pop on over to Twitch, hit reload. Well, it seems to be spitting out ads, so I think that it's working. Alright. So, yesterday, Jesus, almost a week ago, I talked about the sort of directions that I wanted to try and take the gameplay, because we have to work out some of the gameplay elements before we can do too much. Hello, Seba DK. Welcome to the chat. You are fast. I think you're the only person in the chat right now. Wheatley and Pinkhair are both here, but they both probably have the sound off. Anyway, about a week ago, on Saturday, I talked about the direction I wanted to take the gameplay, and today I published a hell of a long essay about how to make gameplay for this sort of game. And I also plugged in a different mic. So if the sound quality is weird, or if you can hear me overly plosifying into it, could you please let me know and tell me whether or not this mic sounds significantly better or worse. I have a huge air conditioner in the background, and I will until it cools off a little in here, so that's not going to help the sound quality any. And Pinkhair is getting sound but no visual. Well, don't worry, you haven't missed anything yet. I haven't actually done anything visual. I've just been talking about what I want to do about the gameplay, because it's about time that we start to think in more detail about how the game is played. And I'll be using a particular system for trying to figure out how to create compelling gameplay. But in order to do that, we have to have the pieces in play. And some of those pieces are UI elements, and some of those pieces are actual pieces of content like people. Either way, today what we can do is we can try and implement the saving features for rooms. Because right now, a ship can save all of its components, but it can't save the subcomponents within a room. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in a new category of object that will let us do exactly that. Or rather, we're going to edit an object that exists. So if we take a look here in our 5-meter hab rooms. Boom. There you go. These rooms, you can the actual 5-meter hab room construct uses this ship component script, which can serialize itself, and it serializes itself to the name and location of this component so that I can find it in the giant stack of components that are in my database, even without loading the component up into the game world. And in fact, I can do it even without loading the component's assets if I want to be particularly clever about it. So this is a big time saver. It'll let me have hundreds of ships on the screen, or rather in memory, without any slowdown at all. But the problem with it is that just saving the manufacturer, the catalog, and the name, and the location and the rotation isn't really enough to remember what's inside of it. Because in this case, we have 2 room slots inside of this, and they can each be set up individually. Now, the problem with this is that there are several moving pieces. We've got this options list, which lists all of the options that can be slotted into these rooms. But the problem is that those option lists might be modded. I don't see any reason to not allow users to mod them, but as they are, you'd have to mod them by adding it to the list when you load the mod, which would mean tracking down the object and then punching into a sub-object and then adding it to an individual room sub-object, which is kind of not a great way to do it. And I'm sort of thinking about that because if I do a save by reference again, save by name again, I can easily look up the name inside of this options list. But if the options list loads up before the mods add their content to it, we could end up with some trouble. The big alternative is to have the rooms saved in the exact same way that we currently save ship components. So up here in Components, Tutorialis, Early Era, Corvette, we actually already do this. We have these rooms here stored as room components. but we don't have any way to track them down with any particular grace. So the first thing we're going to want to do is change this room script so we can track it down. And then what we're going to want to do is have it so that you can serialize elements and look them up again based on their room definition. And then later on, we'll be able to go in and continue to go down deeper into individual furniture pieces and so on. But the key here is that we want to avoid forcing any kind of asset loading if at all possible. So just knowing the names of these rooms is generally going to be enough. We won't need to load them into memory and load all their textures up and all that stuff, which should allow us to have larger ships. By the way, Pinker, I don't know if you're still listening or not, but let me know if my voice sounds different or if my mic setting is weird, because I just switched mics. And I have a permanent loading spiral on Twitch. That was no good. Let's just type in here. Is the stream actually streaming for any of you? Question mark. All right, so let's start. Let's go ahead and do that. So to do that, we're going to... Oh, Pink Hair says, sounds normal. Seba says, works fine for me. All right, well, what I'm hoping is that I'm going to turn off the air conditioning once I get it down a little bit lower here. And we'll see whether or not my voice quality dramatically improves. I didn't buy this mic, so I have a lot of mics, because I've been obsessively trying to replace the one I'm using right now. This mic is a CAD mic. It's a U37, and it's kind of not a very good mic in terms of its quality physically. It's kind of lightweight and floppy. The mounting ring is terrible, and it just doesn't feel right. It feels like a cheap toy. But it gives me, or rather when I was recording with it back then, it gave me this really, really great voice quality. Almost ASMR style voice quality. And I've been steadily replacing it with better mics, like the Yeti Pro is what I've been using recently. But my voice quality has been going down rather than up. So I thought I'd revert back to this and see what's up. It might just be that this new environment is either too echoey or the air conditioner is just too loud. Yeah, it's a reproachable CAD. I have more love for CAD than I thought I did. Every single CAD mic I've ever owned has worked better than it has any right to, which is annoying because I'm trying to, improve my performance, get a better mic, and I buy something that's 3 times the price, and it's at best the same quality. I mean, the Yeti Pro feels a lot better. You could throw it into the pit of fire or whatever, go into Mount Doom and hurl it down, and it would survive. It's got a lot of extra settings and a whole bunch of stuff, and you got better bit rates, but I just can't get better voice quality out of it. Oh, speaking of which, I just realized that I was playing around with the settings, the audio settings for OBS, and it's probably still set to something bizarre. That might be why it's not registering quite right on Twitch. Anyway, what are we doing? We're going into the scripts, and we're going to take a look at the pieces that we're going to need to fix. So one of those pieces is the room, right here. And the other piece is the actual ship component, because the ship component itself is currently what handles the serializer. But you'll notice that there's a ship component serializer as a separate class. And this was necessary to allow us to serialize and deserialize ship components without actually doing any serialization. This is a reference mechanism which allows us to reference ship components without loading them into memory. And that's important to allowing us to look them up from a database or decide whether or not we need to load them and all that stuff. We may have to do the same exact thing with rooms, because the rooms themselves are physical Unity objects. And JojoJet stopped in. Hello, JojoJet. So in order to properly reference a room, we're going to need to serialize it in the exact same way that we currently do ship component serialization. And because of that, we should just go ahead and create an identical approach. Yeah, good. So we're going to create a new C# script, which we're going to call a room serializer. And we're going to have this room serializer work in the exact same way. It creates a reference to a prefab as well as all of the prefab's basic needs. Now, JoJoJet says, have you ever participated in Ludum Dare? I've done a couple in the background, but I've never bothered to try and push something out in 2 days or whatever. Whenever they come around, I'm always doing something else. I think it might be because I am very good at filling my time up with random junk. Anyway, the default Unity serialization comes very close to being able to do what we need, but I looked into it, and I think it's easier to create a completely different category of serializer, specifically for creating references, which are half scene view and half prefab. So we're going to keep doing this, even though it's a little bit weird. You know, it's not something that most people do. So just as an example, right now we've got this object. This object for the ship. We're going to go ahead and make this a room serialization. And take in a room. So in order to track down the room, we're going to need to know the manufacturer, the catalog, and all that stuff. But if we look at the room, it doesn't have any of those details attached to it. So the thing is that the room is always going to be inside of something else. And something else is going to have the manufacturer and the catalog. So we don't actually need that. We do need the room, though, the name. The position, the scale, and the rotation are also going to be irrelevant because we don't need to... it's always going to be locked into the slot. So the slot's position and rotation are going to be static. We don't have to worry about that. So all we really have to do is save the name. And you might be asking, why the heck are you going this far if all you're going to be doing is saving the name? Well, the answer is that we are going to have to extend this very soon to save the status of each individual piece of furniture inside the room. But we're just going to start off easy. Now, if we look back at our ship component serializer, we are using a mono behavior, and we've got these functions. So we'll just copy these functions and fill them out better. By the way, I have Don't Stop Me Now stuck in my head, and I've had it stuck in my head for almost 2 days. So I'm hoping I don't accidentally start to hum it or anything. JoJoJet says there should be a giant dinosaur monster that shoots words called a thesaurus. Yep. I really have to get this song out of my head. It gets worse when when I don't have headset on, because I can't really stop it. When I have a headset on, I can blast other music, but there's no sound. I hope there's no sound other than my voice and the loud-ass air conditioner. So the serialize and deserialize functions here are way too powerful. The serialization and deserialization for the ship components takes into account that you may actually have ship components embedded inside ship components in kind of a Matryoshka doll style situation. That's not going to be the case with rooms, so we're not going to worry about that. So instead of doing it this way, we're just going to serialize the transform and then deserialize it like so. And that'll give us a good indication of whether or not this works. Oh, we'll have to look into that a little bit more. Have to keep some of these details in mind. So when we serialize it, what we need to do is grab the room that we are. So we are room equals t.getComponent room. It's interesting that it's decided not to detect room. I might have a spelling error in here that I didn't catch, or it's just in the wrong format, whatever. So once we have the room, we need to serialize the room. So we have here a serialization array, which we don't need to be an array. We just need it to be a single object. Although now that I'm thinking about it, should we have a room slot serializer? Well, I don't know. I may have to move this around some. We'll have to work on it. So then the serialization equals new room serialization. Room. Oh, I don't have to do this. Serialization just equals new room serialization. Interesting. Nothing seems to be properly saving. Did I spell things wrong? I did. Room! Yeah, hopefully that'll help. Don't need any of this. So the big difference is that the ship serializer, the ship component serializer, actually serializes all of the components on the ship, not one. Whereas the room serializer currently only serializes a single room. Or more specifically, a single room slot. Which would mean that we'd have to have a serializer on every single room slot. Well, you know, that's not so bad. I'm trying to think of a better way to do it, and there's nothing that wouldn't break. Yeah, I think having one per room is probably best. So deserialize. If serialization equals null, then spit out an error because nobody knows what's going on. So what we're going to do here is we have to assume that we are inside of a part, a component. So we're going to grab that component, ship component, sc equals get component in parent. There's something wrong with my... for some reason, it's being really, really aggressive. Is that it? Is that seriously the reason that you are completely failing to do any sort of... There we are. That's better. These are fine. These are all things we're going to fix. So we're going to need to get a ship component. And that's still not auto-completing because it just wants to be an ass. Ship component equals get component in parent ship component. And we're going to say if sc equals null, debug.log error cannot find ship component parent for plus name. Return. Jojo just says, why is no one talking? Presumably you're not talking about me. If you can't hear me talking, that's bad. Why did it say namespace? That was freaking weird. These autocorrects are the worst when they're failing, when they're screwing up, and they make you randomly type shit that obviously makes no sense. So because we are part of a ship component, we're sure that the catalog has already been loaded. And all we have to do is find the resource for the room that we are looking for. You know, I'm not sure this is the right way to do it. Although, I'm sure this isn't the right way to do it according to MonoDevelop, because it is randomly failing to do any kind of autocorrection, and is in fact autocorrecting me wrong. Alright, so let's look at the catalog So we have catalog manifests, and these are full of ship components. There's no reason why they shouldn't also be full of rooms. And this would make more sense than everything I was doing. So we're going to go ahead and figure this out here. So when we are trying to load, if there are no components, then load the components and load the rooms. Oh, interesting. That adds them to the directory, huh? If ship component.loaded components.contains component, I guess I don't need that. It doesn't seem to have been causing any issues before. We won't bother to add the rooms to the big list, though. Anyhow, that should give us all of the rooms. And that will allow us to just grab them. So what we'll do is we will grab that catalog. So catalog manifest catalog equals catalog manifest dot find serialization. Oh no, wait, it's just sc dot manufacturer. This is really hard without any sort of assistance. I don't know why it stopped doing tab completion. sc.catalog. If catalog equals null, then debug log error cannot find catalog for plus name plus in part plus sc.name plus, there we are, return. And then here is where we instantiate. So we'll go ahead and do that next. There seems to be something wrong with the entire situation right now. So we're going to go ahead and just close down all of that, because that was erroring for some reason, and I don't like it when that happens. Oh, people have started talking. JoJoJet says, wouldn't it be great in the future there was a neural network that watched you program? It could autocorrect, be fine-tuned for each project. You can autocorrect to fine-tune it. It just, when the autocorrect actively forgets that everything in C# exists and just tries to autocorrect you to raw types, it'll randomly autocorrect you wrong and won't help you at all for the stuff you actually need. It's a compiler flaw. Pink Hair says, I'm quiet because this is so far out of my depth that even following it conceptually is hard. And says I would try restarting Monodevelop. I'm going to do that. And welcome to the chat. If you have any questions, let me know. So if we found the catalog, then what we need to do is search through it for a room of the same name as us. So for each room in catalog.rooms, if room.name equals catalog.rooms, room.name equals this.name, no, serialization.name, then that's us. Debug.log loading room plus serialization.name. In fact, this should all be serialization.name. And then we're going to instantiate it. Room r equals equals room.instantiate. Been a little while since I've had to instantiate something like this. Room. Yeah, I'm just cloning it. And then we say r.transform.setParent transform, And we say r dot rotation, or rather r dot transform dot rotation equals quaternion dot identity. I found that we have to set these even though we also set the world position doesn't get saved. It's obnoxious, but it happens. Transform dot location, local, scale, local position. This should be local rotation. I'll get into my swing again. There we go. Jojo Jet says that deep profiling is very time-consuming, and yes, that is true. So when we set up the room, we actually want to pass the room our serialization. Or maybe not. I think we do, though. Because the room is going to be full of other components. So let's put a to-do here. Pass the room our serialization, or handle it here. For components. Yeah, well, that should do it. So the other key here is that when we serialize, we need to remember to delete the thing we're serializing. Oh, we're actually targeting ourselves. There we are. That's a kludge. But since this is just a testing program, I don't really care. Alright, so in theory this should work, but we're going to have to add it to our object, because our prefab doesn't actually contain any of the deserializer functions. So we're going to go into our early era Corvette and drop that 5-meter hab room into the game world. Now, one of the things I noticed is that it's offset quite badly. Might as well fix that now while we're here. There we are. But we also need to add it to our room slots. So if we dig down, you can see that these are the room slots. And we're going to just go ahead and drop in a room serializer. Now what we're going to do is drop in our ship. Bloompo. And we're going to delete the ones that are already in here and add in some fresh ones that have the proper settings. Alternately, we could just reload the whole thing twice, but I think this is probably easier. Now, the only problem left is that we're not going to find every room with a direct hit like this. Instead, what we're going to want to do is also check whether or not we begin with it. So, hold on. Because otherwise, there'll be like zeros and ones and clones and shit. Alright, let's go ahead and save the Blumpo. And now what we're going to do is test it. So go over to the console. To Infinity and Beyond says, hey, the only reason I know it's To Infinity and Beyond is because he's the only one that uses that lurid green that I can't read. Okay, so Because the ship disables itself so that it's not being rendered when it's not actually the target, right now we don't have any of the parts active. But once we activate them, we should see a spate of reloads. And a whole bunch of spam based on that. Let's collapse this. Boom. So, if we pause this, we can take a look at what happened here. All of the components spawned correctly. Uh-huh. So they're serializing correct. But I don't see the room deserializer. And I don't know why they loaded up 6 times each. Oh, because there's 3 of them. Yeah, that's fine. But where did it get deserialized? First things first, this has been an ongoing bug where the energy, when it gets reached, it just kind of it continuously spits this out. So the problem here is that we don't have some of the logic. I squinted Jojo Jet and I also highlighted it with my mouse. So it says max carry for blah reached, and it says this every frame, which implies that there's something wrong with this function. So if the amount is greater than or equal to the max carry, and the amount minus delta is less than, okay, so we have an issue where why would that not be the case? So it might not be getting set to the max carry. It is. So if it got set to the max carry last round, then it should be that the amount gets set to max carry plus delta. And that would mean that this part would trigger, but amount minus delta should also equal max carry. I'm trying to think of why this would be triggering continuously. I think the min threshold also triggers continuously. Do it like this. See whether that helps. Yeah, I don't. I hope it's not that. That would be annoying, but it could be. Well, if it starts popping up a lot, we'll know. I think it worked. Yay. Okay. So as you can see, we do have the serialization working, but the deserialization is suspiciously quiet. And you can see that it's actually cleared out the interiors. There's no longer any rooms in here. So it didn't actually create the thing it serialized. It just deleted it. Which means that it is properly getting all the way down to here, but then failing. So we're getting the ship component. That's fine. We're getting the room. Let's go ahead and log stuff here. Debug.log deserializing room. Lots of random letters in there for fun. So we're looking through the catalog, and we're going to just go ahead and debug each one. Debug.log comparing serialization.name plus with plus room.name. Debug.log and no match. And I don't know if I said welcome AC Wraith, but welcome AC Wraith. Boom. Okay, so it's not even finding a match. It's not even bothering to compare, which means that the catalog rooms are not being loaded properly. Well, let's add in an element where it tells us the rooms that it's loaded. Components.length plus components plus rooms.length plus rooms. Oh, it's down here. There we are. I still have that stupid Queen song stuck in my head. So right now we don't have any of the things loaded. We should have loaded one of them. Do I have to hit tab before it loads? There we are. Loaded manifests 2 found. But it didn't tell me anything about the manifests. Oh, because it's not actually loaded. There we are. 20 parts and 2 rooms. Alright, so maybe the problem is that they're just not getting loaded when I hit this here. Alright, so it looks like the issue is that they are triggering before it gets loaded, but they should trigger again. I didn't see an N part. See, early era Corvette loaded 20 parts. Why did it just say 20 parts? There shouldn't be... Oh, there's 2 different load routines. Well, that's shitty. We definitely don't want 2 different load routines. That's asking for trouble. In fact, we've already run into the trouble. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell it to load the catalog. So right here, catalog.loaded equals true. That should do it. So debug.log here, we're going to say should have just loaded catalog and then the catalog name. But I don't see any hints that it actually loaded that catalog. Should I make catalog loading bold and red and big and obvious? Let's go ahead and look up Unity rich text. I think it's just like curly brackets. Oh, it's HTML. Okay. So... Now we won't be able to miss it. So right now, none of them have loaded. There's no loaded elements. And when we tell it to bloop, no, it doesn't ever load. That's interesting. So I'm obviously getting to the part where it loads the, where it sets this equal to true. So the question is why it never triggers this. It could be that it's already considered, that's what it is. So we're going to just do a double check here. This is a problem that's only ever going to crop up in this mode where we can restart the game without having to reload. Once it's in an actual separate game, this would never have happened. But it's easy enough to check. All we can say is if components equals null, or does not equal null, and components dot length is greater than 0, then return. So basically, if we are already loaded, or already unloaded, so hold on. So if it says that we're loaded and we actually have components, that's good. We don't need to do anything. But if it says that we're loaded and we don't have components yet, then you need to mark us as unloaded. But the thing is, I'm not sure whether even that will work, because I think that it's getting set. See, it never gets put into the scene view. So in theory, if we wander on over to the manifest itself, you can see that components and rooms are both here, and they're both full already. So there's no need to load anything. But the problem is that these rooms aren't getting found. That's a problem with something else. Let's try this again here. There must be another issue here. So debug.log checking plus catalog.rooms.length plus rooms. So if we take a look now, checking 2 rooms, comparing 5-meter hab rooms. So what was I on about? This seems like it's fine. So you know what the whole issue was? The whole issue was that I had forgotten that we were in this mode. And what happened was the catalog was already loaded up with a bunch of parts. And it thought that it needed to... it thought that it could just skip loading up all its parts because it had already loaded them. But what that did is it left it loaded up with an obsolete part set. No rooms, for example. Now, that's not a problem if I quit out of Unity and then load it back up. But it is a problem when I am within Unity the whole time. One of the things that might be best is if I were to put in a method to turn these off when the scene dies, but I'm not going to do that right now. I'll have to think about it a little bit. I'm sure that was very exciting for all of you to know that that everything was working fine the whole time and that I was chasing a phantom. I'm sure that was just incredibly fun. So if we take a look into our rooms now, you can see that they've loaded up correctly. And how do I know that they've loaded up correctly? Because they say clone a whole bunch. And then down here, if we look inside, these don't say clone. because I named them without the clone. If we unpause, if we unplay, you can see that these are named completely differently. So we can actually like put gibberish here, and then hit play, and then activate the part count here. Boom. And as you can see, they all refreshed, and we no longer have gibberish in our title. So everything seems to be working fine. We've got it all loading up, but you know what we don't have? We don't have it properly registering with the room slot. So what we're going to do is once we load it up, we're going to want to have it work with the room slot. To do that, we're going to want to make sure that this has a required component type of room slot. And then what we can do is we can just find it and work it out. Room slot IRS equals get component room slot. And then we do IRS dot current room equals R. Exciting. And that's important because otherwise that room won't actually know that there is a room, that the slot won't realize there's a room in it. So it's important for us to do that. So now room 1 does understand that there is a room inside of it. But it seems to have 2 of them, doesn't it? Look at that. That's not right. It doesn't appear to have deleted the original room. See you, JojoJet. So let's go ahead and just destroy everything. For each transform T in transform, destroy T.GameObject. We'll take it off and destroy it from orbit. It's the only way to know for sure. So what's happening now is it's properly serializing and deserializing, but something about how it's reloading after it's being deleted and respawned is screwing it up. Well, it shouldn't be handling its own serialization and deserialization anyway. What it should be doing is registering with the overall part serializer and having itself... the part serializer should be handling this. The problem is, how do you connect the part serializer to the individual pieces? Well, the answer is that the individual pieces have to serialize in a more complex way. So right now we've got these ship components, which are being serialized with a ship component serializer. And what we actually need to do is have these look inside themselves for room component slots and pull out additional serializable elements. We have 2 options. We can either do it using a manual search for room slots, or we can create a new interface, which room slots will descend from, and that'll be our, subassembly interface. I think we're going to manually search for rooms today, and the reason is because I want to avoid accidentally making it nested. The rooms are responsible for the furniture, but I don't want the furniture to accidentally get caught by the overall object. Anyhow, here we're serializing, as you can see, and we say equals new ship component serialization, which is right here. Now what we're going to want to do is do a search for all of the rooms inside of this. So interior room slot, slots equals get components, or equals component dot get components in children, interior room slot, and then we'll say for each slots as interior room slot in slots. So custom equals this. Let me say custom plus equals room serializer rs equals new room serializer, and we pass it a serialization. room serialization equals new room serialization. We pass it the room, slot.current room, and we say custom plus equals rs dot to string. That's odd. We don't actually need this room serializer. I was right. This is totally unnecessary. But we do need the room serialization. You can't override toString? I thought I could. 10Chaos1 says, hey Craig, sitting here racking my brain trying to figure out how to let players place foundations like in The Sims. What are you having a hard time with? There's a lot of ways to do it. If all of the Sims happen on a perfect grid, you should just store a grid. But if you plan to allow for... I think that the way The Sims does it is it's a local grid. But it also stores which floors have foundations on them. So it's not just... it's not a three-dimensional box. It's just one grid. And then you also have which floors are currently foundationed in that particular grid. But there's lots of other ways to do it, depending on how efficient you want to be. So let's look up C# override toString. Because I thought I could just do it, but it doesn't seem to... Yeah, it just says I can just do it. I have a feeling this isn't going to work, though. Oh, did I? Hold on. I've been using the JSON utility, and the reason that all of these are mono behaviors is because the JSON utility only applies to mono behaviors and not to general serializable objects. Yep. Yeah, that's really hilarious. Actually... thanks Infinity and Beyond. The reason I was worried about that is because it wasn't popping up in the help. But JSON utility, for some freaking dumb reason, only actually works with mono behaviors. So even though there is a room serialization inside of this room serializer mono behavior, the JSON serialization kit won't just serialize that. It insists on serializing the entire mono behavior. It's really dumb. So if we take a look here, if we tried to do it, return JSON serializer to JSON this, it's going to spit out an error saying that it doesn't understand what the heck that is. In Unity 5.5, they've beefed up JSON utility? Really? Really? I've been wanting to upgrade to 5.5 for a while now, but I've been a little bit nervous too. It has a lot of things I need, like better line renderers and particles that can emit light. Those are really powerful tools. The problem I've had is that I haven't gotten around to it, and if they have beefed up the JSON utility in 5.5, that might be what I should be doing. That might be what I need to do now instead of this. So what we're going to do is we're going to comment this whole thing out. We're not going to delete it yet. We'll delete it later. But there's some code in here that might be useful. Now that's going to break our habs. They're going to have empty stuff in them. See? But that's okay. We can live with that for now. For now, we'll just manually remove them. So 10chaos1 says, I have the local grid, I just don't know how to place the foundation and mark the grid. Marking the grid, there's a wide variety of ways to do that. You could use a texture that just has grid lines on it. You could use a line renderer. But either way, that's just a visual glitter. Putting the foundation down. This is some pretty... how do I explain this? It's not complicated stuff. It's pretty basic stuff. You need to just detect where the user has clicked and turn that into a grid coordinate and then spawn a grid tile right there, whether it's a two-dimensional tile or a three-dimensional tile. You just spawn it wherever the user has clicked after converting the click coordinate into a grid coordinate. And then, of course, you can detect that tile when the user clicks to see whether or not the user has clicked on some place where there is foundation. Now, dragging for a tile, a square of tiles, that's a little bit more complicated. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to have to upgrade to 5.5. Because JSON utility actually being able to serialize arbitrary serializable objects would be a tremendous advantage. I'd be able to revamp my entire serialization system to a much, much simpler state, and that would be a huge advantage. I do have Monday off. That could be what I spend Monday doing. Yeah... so to infinity and beyond, you say that they've beefed up the JSON utility in 5.5. Do you know whether or not it can serialize arbitrary serializable objects now? Do you have any information on that? And he does. Let me click. That fixes everything. I love it when they fix something I really need fixed. But that means my plans for today are down the shitter, unless you want to watch me try and upgrade Unity for the next hour and a half. I think I actually have to get a whole new license now, because I think that the permanent licenses have worn off. Maybe not. We can find out. So, fuck it. I'm done for the day. What do you guys want me to do until I get tired of streaming? I can do, I guess I could do modeling work if there is some interest in that. Or I could play video games if there's some interest in that. Any opinions, anybody? Or should I just log off and let you guys go watch more interesting streamers? Turns out Unity 5.5 is absolutely critical for my project, so I'm gonna have to upgrade. JSON utility is actually useful now. And to infinity and beyond says Art Sardenpt says what? Or maybe he says what's the Little Janitor? What? I can't even do an impression. 10cast1 says I figured that dragging for a square I would check the difference between the starting click and where I let go of the click. 10cast1, you are absolutely right. Just make sure that you store all of those values in grid coordinates and not real world coordinates. SebekDK says, do a super quick prototyping session of a small game idea. I can't talk and do prototyping at the same time. I can only do talking when I'm trying to think deeply, and prototyping is kind of the opposite of that. Now, I could do a game design session where I talk a lot. I did that last time. I didn't want to do it 2 times in a row. Sardenpt says, I've probably seen all of your videos on YouTube and finally found that you stream. Yeah, I've been posting my streams to YouTube recently because people asked me to. I think that half my videos these days are just duplicates of my stream. And I'm not sure that's great. I'm not sure that's a good idea. But I guess it's okay. AC Wraith says, you're daring to venture into Unity unstable version. Woe unto you. I need these features. I was going to hold off for a while, although I absolutely need light. Hold on a minute. My air conditioner finally finished. So tell me whether or not my voice quality just took a dramatic spike or not. Anyhow, I was going to hold off until it was out of beta, but I do need a lot of those assets. I do need the layered sprites. I do need the particles with lights. I do need the line renderers that don't suck. But I was going to hold off because I don't need them yet. But I absolutely need JSON utility, like yesterday. I could have used this 2 months ago. So that's going to be a big deal, and I absolutely need it. Sarden says, not it is PT for Portugal. Oh, okay. Welcome. I think that Portugal is actually pretty close to the same time zone as Boston. But I can't remember. Is it a little further west? Probably a little further. Portugal, what am I talking about? Portugal's east, in Europe. I'm sorry, my brain fart just died. I need to learn more about Portugal. Portugal. Yeah. Near Spain. I'm sorry. I was thinking of a South American country on the East Coast. Which obviously isn't Portugal. In Portugal, it must be almost midnight. Just make a fool out of myself. I want the players to plan the foundation's position via a Sim-style square selection, then spawn a prefab that has to have resources taken to it by the character. Why not use Newtonsoft? Yeah, I have no idea what everyone's saying. The only person I've been paying attention to is the guy from Portugal, who says it is 10 there, meaning that Portugal is 5 hours off from Boston. Oh, To Infinity and Beyond is telling me to use something besides JSON utility. He's telling me to use a different library. I don't have any big issues using other libraries, but JSON utility comes with Unity, is supported by Unity, is a core Unity feature, and I don't need to worry about redistribution rights. So I was planning to try and stick as closely as possible to core Unity. 10Chaos1 says, going to the shop. Well, if you're not going to make any suggestions on what I should do, you may come back to me not being here. But we'll see. The only suggestion I've gotten right now so far is art. Don't know whether or not anyone else has any suggestions as what they'd like to see. Also, I could do with a much, much better transparency renderer. Look at that. That's just insulting. Now it's super quiet in this room. I'm like, gosh, it sounds like a tomb. And then some raiders, some treasure raiders, broke in through my window and searched for mummies. Alright, well, if I'm going to open up some art assets, I might as well. So I have a lot of a variety of Corvette stuff, and I've been working almost entirely on the Corvette stuff. Sarden says, I'd like to see some resource management stuff like gathering resources in space. Well, if you're talking about the game design of this, it's a little bit different than that. Rather than direct resources, you have an economy, and you actually have different layers of your economy. So you would find asteroids or planets or whatever, and you would be able to put down settlements, and those settlements would be a producing economy based on that. So if you found a deposit of minerals in space, you would put a colony there and get yourself a continuous influx, which would be represented as like, 5 or 10 points of Tech Zero economy. So the economies, the way that this game works is a little bit different than the average space game, because you don't directly handle the various resources. Instead, the point is that you are managing a much larger scale economy. And Sarden says, so it's all offline gathering? Well, not exactly, because you're going to have all of these ships that you're building, and you're going to be putting crews on the ships. And one of the biggest roles of the ships is to do missions which improve those economics. So building this, for example, building this Blumpo here, this is a Tech Level 0 ship. It doesn't have anything in it that we would have had to wait to build. We could build this Blumpo tomorrow here on the planet Earth, and it would be considered out of date. But it costs a couple points of Tech Level 0 economy. So if you've got, your starting world might have 50 Tech Level 0 economy, and you might spend 5 on this Blumpo. And in order to make that back, the Blumpo is going to have to do enough missions to make back at least that much. And that means that the Blumpo is going to do things like scan for mineral deposits or weather patterns, both of which would improve your low-level economies, or go scouting in the depths for new asteroids that could be used for that sort of thing. There's a lot of missions you can do. Alternately, you could use the Blumpo to try and enhance your level 1 economy by performing research and such. So how you build your ships and what they can do will really affect how your economy grows. And it should be kind of fun, but it's all just an excuse to have fun playing around on a ship. So the actual mechanics of it are fairly simple. If you want to know more, I wrote a big-ass essay on the basic idea just today, but it's probably going to be too boring to read. I'll go ahead and post a link. Yeah, so this is the sort of thing I write when I write these essays a lot, and they're very boring. So if you were curious as to how the sort of thinking I have on how this game might go, you can look into that. But fundamentally, we're talking about a game where your ships act to they're drains on your economy, and you have to put that stuff, you have to pay that back in by doing missions. And your various crew get, they improve themselves over time and have relationships and get shot at and all that cool stuff. Oh, Infinity and Beyond. Stop! I mean, you're free to make your own tile map editor, but Unity is working on one that uses smart tiles. So I'm not sure. If you're using Unity, there will be a Unity tile map system in vanilla Unity coming up soon. I believe you can already get it if you go to Unity's development center and download the library. So unless you are really enjoying making your own tile map thing, Unity is also working on it, and chances are it's going to be pretty decent once it actually gets released. I know that it's already at least vaguely usable. Yeah. Soon, indeed. I never thought that Unity would actually release any of the things they've released. They always promise you the moon, and then 2 years later they give you the moon. But it always takes a couple of years, doesn't it? That's good. I'm hoping that you're enjoying making it. I really enjoy, with tile maps, what I really enjoy is making them smart enough to keep up with the player, or with the creator. And that all sorts of things, like automatically understanding things like water is water and so on and so forth. Because the whole point of having a tile map editor is to let the player create tile maps rapidly and easily, just out of their imagination, without needing to fiddle too much. Speaking of which, I found that most newbies tend to make tile maps that are huge, like, this is the bathroom, and it is 85 tiles wide and 90 tiles tall. And it's like, why is a bathroom that big? I wonder why that is. Wonder, wonder if a tilemap editor could sort of automatically push them into some best practices. I don't know. Well, if it's good enough, then I'm sure people will use it. Mine was super primitive. I was just looking into whether or not Unity could do it, and it can. So I wouldn't. I was trying to sort of make a way into Unity for people who were used to using RPG Maker, because RPG Maker is pretty. It's a straitjacket. Once you get into RPG Maker, it's hard to go into doing other things. And I was thinking that you could drift into Unity from RPG Maker, but that only would work if you had a really good tile editor. Oh, I was going to do something, wasn't I? I was talking about it. I was thinking it would be nice to make another category of ship. The Blumpo is very specific. And it wouldn't do any harm for us to create some T1 ship parts. So what I'm going to do is find us a file. It's already 5. I've been doing this for more than an hour now. I'll try to aim for 2 hours, I think. Yeah, I've got most of an hour left if I aim for 2 hours. We're going to try and find the person, because that's the only part that we actually want to carry over from place to place. Where is the person? There's the person. So we want to delete everything else. And we're going to save this as, oh, someone give me a cool company name for our T1 company. The tech level of about where we are now. So maybe it should be something that sounds kind of trendy. Like Oople. Any suggestions, anybody? Oople, huh? Carbonium Industries. Oh, that's just not trendy enough. Carbonium Industries sounds like a mining operation, and I'm thinking of a company like Google that got too rich for their own britches and decided that they were gonna go into space, and they would put all their swanky branded spaceships up into orbit, and none of them would work worth a damn. Dynamic tile atlases are great fun. I have to do something very similar for the crew in my game, believe it or not. Uptech, that's pretty good. Space.io. That's really good, but unfortunately that's an address, like a web address, and people would be able to go to it and find that that's not any good. Banana is a pretty funny one instead of Apple. I could name it something similar to banana, like Anana, a Tesla X. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, you guys are suggesting things that are actually corporate names I would actually hate to see. Excuse me, hate to see in the real world, which means that they're probably perfect. I think Uptech might be the best one. Let me just do a Google search on Uptech and make sure that it's not some big spaceship already. No, it's just like cloud solutions and shit. Who cares about that? Maybe I shouldn't call it Uptech though. Maybe I should call it like Ooptech or iSpace. More messages below? There's no more messages below. Hub Industries. I think Hub Industries is actually a really good suggestion. I'm going to call it Hub Industries. I think that's great because it suggests a lot of things that are going to be useful in terms of telling the player what this can do. Google might be a little bit on the nose. We'll go with Hub Industries. Oh, Wei Sun's pretty good too. So is Green Sakamoto. It came in at the end there with a whole bunch of good good suggestions. Infinity. It sounds like all of you are going to be great at creating companies when I need you to. For now, I think Hub Industries is nice and simple and should tell us the sort of designs that we're going to see. Now, the question is what Hub Industries should actually look like. And I'm thinking they're trying to look like Apple. They're trying to look sleek and swanky, but they're barely tier 1. They don't have anything sleek or swanky. So they're desperately trying to look sleek, even though they can't pull it off. And that's going to mean there's a lot of rounded angles that turn into ugly bumps and stuff like that. Should be fun. Oh, To Infinity ripped them off of the generator. Is that the same generator that was linked a little bit earlier? Seventh Sanctum versus Engworld. They're two different generators, huh? So if we think about what that's going to look like, let's just draw ourselves a little sketch. So this is supposed to have a crew of 2 to 6. And we could like... I want to draw with x-axis mirroring. Can I do that? No x-axis mirroring? Oh well, that's fine, I guess. Sarden says... yes, that's actually not bad at all. That's more or less what I had in mind. Except for I was going to put on a sharp nose. But now that I think of it, I think it would make sense if it didn't have a sharp nose. Yes, I think that you have hit the nail on the head here in terms of what this should look like. So let's go ahead and do that. First, let's go ahead and move our character into a position where we can use her for scale. Like that. And then what we'll do is we will build the front section, the nose section. And I think it's going to look like that hub. I think that's a good idea. So it's going to be a cube to start with. About that high. 3 meters? 4 meters? 4 meters. 3 meters. Oh yeah, that's a short character, I forgot. I might have to be a little bit higher than that, but that's okay. We'll move it up maybe half a meter. Boom. And then what we'll do is we will just grab this front edge and pull it forward. Like so. We're going to want to split it in half, delete this half, add in a mirroring. Oh, I forgot to turn on smart keys. There we are. We're going to want to make it fairly wide, like just grab this here. Boop. That's too tall, after all. Three meters is probably the right height. And then we're going to want to drag this back, like this. And we're going to want to make it rounded. TenCast1 says, I was thinking I could cache the up and down positions of the click and do an X and Y check and multiply the differences and I spawn the amount and build the prefabs. Yeah, that sounds right. too many bumps. There we are. And then what we'll do is we'll give it a lot more little features. Oh! Forgot to turn on clipping. That's no good. I think I want it to be in line. I don't think I want it to be a lid like that. So if I were to put in another crease here, I could just dent that one area in. That crease might be a little bit shallow. Let's go ahead and drag it. No, that's not going to work. Undo, undo. Can't undo anymore? Undo. Oh, I undid too much. I guess that's as good as it's going to be this pass. I can actually enhance it by just doing some bevel. Interesting. That wasn't the that wasn't what I expected, but it's kind of an effect I like. Anyway, the front should be some windows, but they should be relatively small due to the fact that this is a low-tech situation. Tilted front walls are a little bit annoying to work with. I probably should have done this window before that. Well, I guess it's fine. To Infinity and Beyond is doing something, but I don't know what. Should I have a flat base? Now I'm thinking about it, I should probably have a flat base. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do some more beveling. They're trying to look like Apple, so nothing but gently rounded corners everywhere you go. And now the question is, what should I put on the side to make the side look properly authentic? Well, first off, I'm going to need to have a door in the back here. So just give the impression of a door, and then that'll be hidden. It'll always be locked up against another component, so it's not that important. On the side, we'll probably want to have one small window and then a mass of awkward machinery that they desperately wish they could hide. So we'll add in a circle with just a little bit of... There we are. Oh, and I ended up accidentally welding it to the center here, didn't I? I'm just that brilliant, I'm telling you. So, To Infinity and Beyond is giving some relatively basic tutorial on how to work out where to put various prefabs. I hope that it's good. I haven't actually looked into it in any great detail, but he's doing my job, so I'm happy. So I think what I'll do is pull this edge up. Give it a little bit of an organic feel. Yay, I'm online! I'm hoping that nobody actually got, like, screwed up by the Twitch freakout. I haven't had a whole lot of viewers, but this is the right number for me. Just enough to make some noise and keep me focused, but not enough to actually get in the way. When it was just one person who never said anything, that was not quite enough viewers for me. Um, Hold on. I have lost track here. Um, Random mass assortment of letters says, Yeet. And then Seba says, that was you. Not sure what that's referring to. I'm afraid that I am a little bit lost. Wait, why did this get offset? Annoying. I hid those points and they didn't get hidden properly. God damn it, now I have to undo all that stuff. Alright, so the problem is that when I hid these, I hid the lines, but not the verts. So we'll try it again, hiding the verts this time. That's better. Now it's still straight. Good. Nope. Sebak says, watching your own stream to read the chat. Sorry, I don't... I honestly don't have any idea what's going on because I'm only paying half an ear. I'm actually really bad at talking and modeling at the same time. So I apologize for not actually getting what's going on. Can I put the cursor right here? I can. Good. Oh, no, I mean, I had one person who actually said something and then never said anything else, but still showed up in the chat log. If I press this little wheelie thing, oh no, sorry, the thing next to the wheelie thing, it gives me a list of viewers. Like right now, I've got Tranquil, To Infinity and Beyond, Sebek, Sordon, Random Mass, Pink Hair, Jeff, Bwee, the AC 8th, and 10cast1. I think those are just the people who are logged in while watching. But anyway, those are people that I'm fairly sure aren't me. If you are me, let me know. That would be interesting. AC Wraith says that he's lurking, which is fine. Sarden says that he's him, the PT, which is Portugal, so he's a lot of people. Pink Hair says the most viewers he ever had was when he accidentally turned the OBS streaming on while I was doing completely boring shit. So I was very careful when I set up my OBS stream to make absolutely sure it would pop up a little message saying, "Are you sure you want to stream?" For that very reason. I was quite concerned that I would accidentally stream 4 hours of whatever I happened to be doing. Why isn't this working? There it is. That was weird. Alright, so now what we can do is we can use beveling to carve out a piece here. Ooh, that didn't work as expected, did it? Amarine says, I really appreciate the little key press pop-up. Thank you. Yep, no problem. To be honest, I don't even know whether or not my stream is still properly running because the video preview conked out on me at least half an hour ago. But since nobody has complained, I'm presuming it's all right. Clown also stopped by. Both of you are welcome. Sarden says, custom editor for folders? What's this about? If you want to explain what you're talking about, Sarden, it looks really interesting, but I don't know that I have the ability to read it while I'm streaming. Oh, okay. So someone else asked for it. Now we're gonna do the bevel. Bevel! So does that look like someone who is trying to hide the fact that they have a clunky piece of machinery? It's a little bit low poly. I think I need to soften it even more. Well, it's going to be smooth shaded, so it should be fine. Should I make this an antenna? I think I should make this into an antenna. Sarden is insulting my modeling ability, which is fine. It's pretty bad. Well, Clown, that's not entirely true. Obviously, you do want to have... wasting polys is a bad idea. But when you have a poly budget, the whole point is that's how many polys you should be spending, and you should try and spend the polys in places that make your model look good. So I noticed that a particular part of my model looked really clunky because of the low poly count there, and so I put in some bevel. Now, another advantage I have with these is that I'm going to be using multiple LOD levels, so level of detail levels. So I will be able to go ahead and reduce the poly count on the fly. So I don't need to worry too much about the poly count of the maximum quality system, because you're only going to see it from like this range, and it's going to degrade as you go further away and get more efficient. Come on, you. There we are. Yeah, my stream has been frozen for a long time now. I don't know whether Lenik is saying that his stream is frozen or not frozen, but it looks a little bit like a dumpster because it's not properly it's not got no materials on it or anything. But I think that it's probably time to take a look at how it might look in our Unity editor. So let's take a quick look here. So let's delete these. We don't need them anymore. And pop in our new Hub Industries Corvettes. There's the lady. Where is Save. Grind, 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 grind. There we are. So this is going to be the front of the Hub Industries T1 ship. Right now it doesn't have any texture on it. We just drop some stuff on it like this. But we're going to have glass. Let's go ahead and add in some materials. There. So if we set this up, we can have glass here. And we can also put in some additional little touches of glass. I'm glad that everyone thinks it looks like a dumpster. Or a photo printer. You guys have some stylish dumpsters, I have to tell you. All of our dumpsters are really a lot more rectagonal, or they look crappier. A fancy dumpster with Wi-Fi. Believe it or not, that's more or less the feeling I was going for. So this should have a couple of materials. Oh, they automatically synced up. That's nice. Except that it synced up to the wrong damn thing. Okay, so we've got to fix a couple of details here. Well, first off, we have to stop importing normals. And we have to stop importing meshes. I mean, stop importing materials. There you are. It's a dumpster that people sit in and look out the front of. I don't know what you guys are laughing at. And where's the heavy hole? I guess I never actually built a heavy hole. I'll use the red. Now it really looks like a dumpster. I think I want to use a different material for that for the moment. It's just temporary, but something like that is probably better. And let's put in some opaque glass. Why isn't the opaque? Oh. God damn it. This plane, this clipping plane is in the way even when I hide all the visuals. It's just ridiculous. No, it's transparent. I want opaque. Those windows look terrible. Like, wow, those look bad. Let's go ahead and see if we can fix up those windows a little bit. They're just so awful. Why does that dumpster have an air conditioner in it? Oh, it's someone's home, huh? So what we're going to do here is we're going to duplicate this, pull it out a little bit, and then extrude it up. And then we'll grab these edges, bevel them down. You know what? That's better. Now we'll bevel them down. I'll make the whole thing out of heavy hull. There. Let's see how that looks. Well, the UV mapping for the front plane of the dumpster is just the worst. Let's just go ahead and tell it to recalculate that. See if we can just re-roll our generic unwrap. Later on, we'll have to go back and unwrap all this shit for real, but who cares? Ooh, lovely. How about we don't? I kind of like the idea of giving it eyebrows. I also think that the windows might have the wrong ratio. I wanted them to feel a little bit like viewing slits, but they feel more like hipster glasses. Like I expected a big robotic hand to come up and adjust the frames here. All right, well, it's clear that these windows on the front aren't working. So let's go ahead and fix them. I think what I'll try and do is, what's a better shape for the window? Should I do some vertical slits? I think that might come off a little bit better. Bridge edge loops. But it bridged the edge loops backwards for some reason. Oh, it's because the interior edge loops are backwards. Gosh, this thing duplicated really awkwardly, didn't it? Just like randomly switched a whole bunch of shit. There we are. So if I were to build it like this, and what happens then if I just asymmetrically bevel? Like this. Yeah, something like this seems like it might not be too bad. Sarden posted some windows of his dumpster home. That's what it originally looked like. I'm trying to make it a little bit more spacey right now, so that it feels like something a company would actually put up into orbit. rather than something silly and embarrassing. Let's see whether oh, I forgot to unwrap them. It's going to look a little bit silly. We'll take a look, though. To be honest, spider bin might not be a bad idea. I could add a couple more windows that are smaller and offset. First, however, I should fix the size of these things up. And these need to be radically scaled down. Here. So if I were to grab these things, duplicate them, and move them to a different location, and scale them down, and then also make sure that I didn't accidentally, yeah, good. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, that's a little bit too advanced for our buddies in T1 tech. I mean, it looks great, but it's T2 or higher. We're talking about something we would build today, technology-wise, if not necessarily visually. Grind, grind, grind. Grind, grind. There we are. So if we take a look from the inside, here is our example lady. She is going to be facing front and in some kind of piloting chair. So if we presume that she's in a piloting chair and seated, well, let's go ahead and do it here in Blender because we have better access to the bones here in Blender. So we just grab her hips and oh, I gotta put her in pose mode, don't I? There we are. And then I can move her into roughly the right position for a chair. Of course, there's still no magic gravity system, so she can sit off kilter pretty easily, like this. I think that's probably about right. And then over on the sides, we'll have raised areas where people can, or not even raised, they'd just be like a dios. So let's go ahead and just quickly block out the interior here. First things first, we'll call this the spider nose. But we're going to want to block out the interior as well. We'll do that with just a quick little block system. We're not going to do it with any detail work or anything. We just want to make sure that we understand where things go, or else it'll feel really silly. So to do that, we're making the assumption that this door actually goes most of the vertical height of the room, which is probably not a very good assumption. We'll probably have to deal with that. But basically, we've got this, and then we've got this. We can put like little computer panels in front of these guys. But in order for that to work, maybe the computer panels should be to the sides. Those are pretty big. Those are like the size of a full-sized keyboard, so that's probably fine. And that's how the interior will probably look. But that means that our exterior has one more challenge left, and that's this huge-ass door, which is obviously too big, so we are going to have to scale it down. There we are. That's better. Well, we can still raise the roof. There we are. There. And that should be good enough. If we select our interior again, yep, let's name it Spider Nose Interior Mockup, just so that we remember what's going on. I really lost track of what's going on here. Who says spider windows? I don't think that Day has technology for using Windows hard enough. This is not a re-entry capable vehicle. This is just the nose. Yep. I expect windows to the sides to be angled at least slightly, like you see on the ISS and the Space Shuttle, especially if you need to steer. Unfortunately, Hub Industries did not think of that. The door should be much closer to the ground. Touche, no gravity, no ground. I just want to make sure that the door is closer to where the interior space actually begins, because the floor isn't made out of just an aluminum sheet. It's got some heft to it. And so what's going to happen is this door is actually going to lock in to the next ship part. And that's what I'm going to add right now is the screws. Clown says, what's this ship going to be used for? This is the first T1 ship that the player is likely to build, or at least parts that they're likely to use. They probably will mix and match some T0 and some T1 parts. Because of that, it's probably going to be used mostly for improving T1 technology using basic research, materials, and medical research, and T2 technologies. But it could also be used for scouting for T1, for T0 tech. For example, you could attach a lot of antennas to it and scan for mineral deposits or do worldwide weather monitoring. Those sorts of things are quite possible because the power output of a T1 ship is substantially better than the power output of a T0 ship. So you would be able to use some power-hungry scanners and long-term things, you know. Of course, it's also going to be used for ferrying cargo around from orbital station to orbital station. It wouldn't be used for launching cargo, but it could easily rendezvous with launched cargo and carry stuff around. Of course, this is only the frontmost piece. There's going to be lots of additional pieces. I might make one more before I call it a day. It looks like the interior is... Oh, no, she's backwards. Oh, because I moved her. That's right. That's fine. So it now looks like this. Oh, I renamed it, so the materials all went away. Let's go ahead and make this directional light vaguely correct. Glass opaque. And these doors don't look right, do they? Let's go ahead and unwrap the doors on their own just for now. We're also going to go ahead and duplicate the entire rear area because it's going to be used for the heart of our connector. So grab it, duplicate it, punch it out, call it something like connector. Duplicate it. Let's go ahead and unduplicate it for now. We can actually do something with this connector that would be useful, and that is we can, well, we don't care. That's fine. So duplicate it, and we're going to call this one straight hab, or hab straight. There are lots of things we could do, but basically all we're really going to do is extend it. Are we missing any little... We are not. Okay. Straight backwards. Like... And of course everything is backwards. Flip direction. And the reason I'm just building this is because I want it to just see a little bit what it's going to be like in the long run. So that's 6 meters, which I guess is a fine length. I'm going to duplicate this again, move it 6 meters back, and join it up. There we go. And we will go ahead and unwrap the wall. And save it. And we'll just see whether or not the material is actually kept. I don't think they did. We'll see shortly here. 10cast1 says that now it looks like a truck cab. That's really what it's supposed to look a little bit like. I wanted it to feel like Google was trying to build spaceships, and they couldn't quite pull it off. The materials didn't take. All right, so... glass opaque, where are you? Well, I'm going to be finishing up here today, nowish. So if you have any last-second requests, let me know. Otherwise, I'm happy that you guys stopped by. we solved some really critical issues today, believe it or not. Knowing now that we have a new version of Unity that will actually help me, that's hugely important, and that's one of the reasons why I had to stop developing and do art instead. And so a huge thanks for that. I don't know Rutagore, but a big thanks for informing me. And I'm trying to remember. I have a feeling that it was. So, I think it was To Infinity and Beyond that said it. But it was a long time ago, so far ago that it might have fallen off the back of the screen. Whoever told me about the new JSON utility update, and Sardon was great with his requests or his updates for what the ship should look like. 5.5, I guess it wasn't you then. 5.5 has a better JSON utils, like a much better JSON utils to the extent where I can completely rewrite all of my stuff. So To Infinity Beyond did that one too. Yeah, I think I said that, didn't I? Yeah. That's the trick. That's a ticket. 5.5 also has lightable particles, and particles that can emit light, and actual useful line renderers. So all of that stuff's great. It also allows for some tricks with textures, stacking textures up that are really important. So are you saying that Google wouldn't build something that looks like this? I just don't know. Anyway, I'm pretty sure that Firefox is demanding my attention. It's very polite of it. And so I'm going to stop the stream here. I'll pay attention to chat for a while. Let me know if my voice sounded okay, better, worse, all that jazz. But my voice is starting to go a little bit, so I'm going to stop here.